to Bill Flynn in the morning.
And good morning. It's the Love Your Lawn Hour this morning with our great friends at GrowinGreen. I got just a quick moment of testimony here before Tommy Cowett joins us from GrowinGreen. GrowinGreen is helping out in my yard, and it turns out at my house directly across the street, and then the other house right next to the house across the street to me, all three of us in that neighborhood, just on that street alone, are GrowinGreen customers. And I think that's, in its way, its own testimony. How do I know that, by the way? Well, whenever GrowinGreen comes and makes an application onto your lawn, they put a little reminder that your lawn has been treated with a little sign that just helps you know, okay, they were here. You also get something else on the door. I'll talk about that in just a moment, too. But that little sign says, hey, we were here, GrowinGreen, and we did an application, the date and the time. And what that does, a couple of things, I think. Number one, it certainly alerts the homeowner that GrowinGreen has been to the house, has observed the lawn, and has applied whatever the moment of the season and your lawn in particular is in need of. But it also tells other people that are looking at your lawn who's the magic, the secret formula behind the curtain that's making your lawn look so good and helping it work really in concert with everything having to do with nature, rather than working so hard against nature and trying to prohibit nature from doing everything. Certainly there are pre-emergents that are part of the GrowinGreen regimen for weeds and other undesirables you don't want in your yard. But there's also the new trend in taking care of lawns is one that actually tries to work with the power of nature rather than to try to subjugate the power of nature. And therein lies one of the key differences between GrowinGreen and any number of other lawn care providers that are out there. GrowinGreen is also a local company. And Jonathan Rigsby, you've heard of we call him the turf master or various names, the turf commander. He has been really dedicating his life, went to college and studied specifically in the agriculture department at North Carolina State University and was part of some of the studies that have led to really better varieties of fescue that grow well. In fact, one of the brands you buy now is there because Jonathan and some others had a real hand in developing exactly what we're seeing in that way. So just a couple things about GrowinGreen in my own experience. Now, when GrowinGreen comes to your house, they also leave on your door the information very, very specifically about what was done to your lawn. So you know, okay, we've had this pre-emergent placed today. We've had, the lawn needs whatever for this time of year. And I say whatever, but the technicians and people like Tommy Cowett, who will be joining us in just a moment, are the experts. When they look at your lawn, they know what's coming up. And the other thing's fascinating, I think, too. All the technicians have their own smartphones, and what they can do on site and in real time. If your yard is showing up with, say, some brown spot activity or something that, is not looking the way GrowinGreen wants it to look for you, the technicians right there on the spot many times will know exactly what it is. But if they want a second opinion, if they're not sure or it's something they've never seen before, they can take a photograph of that, pop it right in to the home office via email or text or what have you. And people like Tommy Cowett, who's a agronomist with a master's degree from North Carolina State, can look at these things and say, oh, I know what that is. And in the event that the experts at GrowinGreen are not entirely sure, if it's a very, very rare problem, they have access at GrowinGreen to any number of other professionals within the world of agriculture to say, okay, this is what we're seeing. What is this? It's not unlike, in some ways, the model for the Centers for Disease Control. The difference is the Centers for GrowinGreen actually works and gets the solution right and doesn't worry about the politics of it. I'm not trying to turn this into a political show. But some basic things, that we've learned from Tommy and others at GrowinGreen is, what is it we as homeowners can do? And one of them is just being consistent on how long we mow, what mower setting we have when we cut the grass. To 4 inches is what you want. And for a lot of us, we're stuck on the 3 or 3.5 inches. I know I was for a long time because I want to, if I'm going to get out there and cut the grass, I want it to look like I've cut the grass. But really, 4 inches is the recommended procedure and policy for when it comes to cutting grass. And Tommy Cowett was sitting right here.
Good morning, Bill.
Good morning. You'll tell us again. It's 4 inches. And
it's 4 inches. You got to keep it up. And I'm looking at a disease-free lawn right now, and I hope everybody else is looking good, too.
That's an accomplishment, a disease-free lawn.
It really is. Right now, brown patch is on the run with these, evening thunderstorms we're having.
Does that make brown patch all the more likely because you're getting moisture later in the day?
Yes, the disease triangle is coming together. You have the pathogen. It's everywhere,
It's already there.
It's in the soil.
Okay, ready to go.
It's ready to roll. These little sclerotia, they're little hard nodule-type little pellets that is the fruiting body of the fungus. It's there.
All right, it's just waiting for the alarm clock to go off.
That's right.
That's it. Okay, what is the other?
Then you have a susceptible host.
Yes.
Tall fescue. Or it could be Bermuda, could be zoysia. All these turf grasses are susceptible to these diseases.
So these microbes are looking at the fescue saying, one of these days, Alice.
Yummy. And I'm going to, and then the third part.
The key.
To bring that triangle together is this. Hot, humid, nighttime air temperatures not getting below 65 degrees. It's humid. It's wet.
Those afternoon, evening thunderstorms kind of snowball it even more.
To the perfect vacation for a fungus to take off. And here it goes. And then you get this brown patch.
Once it jumps out and says, "Hey, I'm here. I'm brown patch."
Right.
What's the regimen? What can GrowinGreen do?
What we can do is a fungicide application to stop this, movement of this disease through your lawn. But it's better to prevent it. If you're on the program, you're not going to get it. And with what we're doing with applying microorganisms to your soil in the first place is creating an antagonism where you're not going to have as much.
I got you. Okay, we're going to take a short break, come back with Tommy Cowett and GrowinGreen. It's the Love Your Lawn Hour on the Eagle.
Call now. The number is 896-1980. AM 980 The Eagle.
It's the Love Your Lawn Hour this morning. GrowinGreen is our guest, and Tommy Cowett, one of the managers at GrowinGreen. By the way, the phone number there is 1-866-LAWN-HELP. 1-866-LAWN-HELP if you would like some help with your lawn. By the way, I saw where the governor of California, by decree, apparently they're now rewarding people if they dig up their lawns.
Ouch.
They'd say, well, we'll spend less water. And Jonathan has talked and lectured, I think, about really what the benefit of a lawn is, especially during a drought window.
Oh, it cools. It has a cooling effect.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, like so many things in California, it's just an inverse image of reality.
It is very much not reality.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad it's not. Can you imagine the outcry if Governor McCrory here said, all right, folks.
Lawns have to go, folks.
And
are you kidding me?
It's just not going to fly, right? You said yesterday people need to know that GrowinGreen, you do an awful lot of residential work, but you also do a lot of commercial work, too.
Yes, we do.
And yesterday you said you were down in a hole at Was it a BMP?
A BMP.
I don't know what a BMP is.
Oh, yeah, that's one of these government names for a pond or, a nice pond. Mm-hmm. Call it a BMP, a best management practice, which, okay, I get that part. Best management practice. That's what we do. Best management practice.
Okay,
we
right.
utilize best management practices in work every day.
Now, you're talking about the pond, for instance, when there's an industrial or a large building, a warehouse or something. You
Neighborhoods
got a
have
lot.
them.
Oh, we
Just
do?
about every
Okay.
neighborhood has a retention pond,
And it is to catch the runoff
Catch
water?
the runoff of water and hold it for a period of time. Now, there's different types. Some of them will temporarily hold water. Some will permanently hold water. But it is all about slowing the flow of that water and holding it for a period of time to let it seep into the soil naturally. But, of course, man has come along, scraped the earth.
And we put a roadway
everything.
in that accelerates how the water runs rapidly.
Yes.
Or, for instance, I saw this. We had a heavy rain out. I was over at University Parkway, and we had a very heavy rain. And I was watching, and it was near an industrial kind of building, big building. And the water pressure coming out of the downspout was remarkable.
Man, a rooftop can hold some water. A parking lot can hold some water.
And so you got this water at velocity, which is even different from just water sitting there. But go ahead with your point.
Right. With, if you just had a forest, of course, that forest will absorb all that water. It's going to hold that water and utilize that water. Now that we have cleared all the land, or these parts, now we've got a lot of potential runoff, and where is that water going to go, and it usually can cause problems downstream. So man is constantly, what you do here is going to affect what goes on downstream always. So this is a constant changing thing. It's highly regulated.
They actually come out and inspectors send.
They send inspectors out to inspect these things, and they will fine you if you're not in compliance.
So if you have one in your neighborhood, then your homeowners association is going to be responsible for it, or the builder or whoever. Right?
My neighborhood in particular, we have 2 retention ponds that have cost us $30,000 every probably 5 to 10 years we're spending on renovating, maybe cleaning them out, maybe going in and scooping out the silt.
And these are some of the things that GrowinGreen apparently services along the way.
We do maintain BMPs for various customers, mainly commercial. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people have a pond. We'll take care of your pond. And they are prone to getting lots of weeds, algae. They could be leaking, whatnot, we don't handle a lot of the heavy work, excavating or digging out the outlets, or inlets, or the risers and things like that. We can help you. We understand those things, these devices, and we work with various contractors that can.
So I'm just thinking, if you're a businessman and you're managing a building that has one of these essentially retention ponds or runoff water ponds, or BMPs as you call them, or if you're a homeowners association and you're the guy, the president or whoever's in charge of things like this, and you realize, gosh, we could be getting a fine here. You talk about it's cost $30,000 every 5 years or whatever in your case, but if you, sadly enough, if you get hit with some fines along the way, that $30,000 can go out the window
big time,
real quick, right?
Oh yeah, I was just yesterday on a particular customer's, probably the largest BMP in the state of North Carolina. There's 7 retention ponds. Some are dry, some are wet, and we're dealing. It's a beautiful place in Burlington. You can see it from I-40. There's a gigantic fountain that we've even worked on.
I know exactly where you're talking about.
Alamance Crossing, there. It's a beautiful shopping center. They've got, a Barnes & Noble and a Dick's Sporting Goods. They've got a, big cinema there. And it's beautiful to walk around this large pond with a huge, beautiful fountain that shoots about 45 feet in the air.
Wow.
So we've worked on that fountain, actually, make sure it's working because it's an aerator for the pond.
So you've taken what has to be there by regulation, an aerator. In this case, is that?
Oh, yeah.
And you turned it into an artistic expression. I mean,
that fountain weighs about 1,000 pounds, and it can shoot 40, 50 feet in the air, and it's got lights on it at night. It's gorgeous. The pond itself, everything there is actually to hold water coming off the rooftops of that shopping center. And then what most people don't see are all the BMPs around that shopping center. They're down in the hole. I mean, you're literally down in the hole. I mean, it is below Alameda's Crossing are all these BMPs. It's like a jungle down there.
I guess they have to be fenced off so people can't walk or fall into them, that kind of stuff.
There's barriers to get down to them, but the vegetation will keep you away anyway.
Interesting. All right. I had no idea about all these secret BMPs, best management practice, which is essentially a water retention pond and runoff collector basin kind of thing. We'll come back with more with GrowinGreen and helping you enjoy a better lawn and even a better BMP on the Eagle.
Call now. The number is 896-1980, AM 980, The Eagle.
Good morning. It's 9:36, 24 minutes till 10 o'clock. This morning we've learned about BMPs, essentially large runoff ponds that are built and constructed to really control the flow of water and make it healthier and safer for the environment. At least ostensibly. It sure ends up being very complicated and ultimately can be very, very expensive. But it's one of the things that, again, GrowinGreen is involved in. I want to turn our attention a little bit more, too, with Tommy Cowett this morning with GrowinGreen.
Hello.
Love Your Lawn Hour. A lot of us will look at some of these gardening magazines and say,
yes,
that's exactly what I want.
Southern
and I
living.
want it right here next to the walkway path. So every time I go out in the morning, I'll see it or whatever. And then we end up with let's say it's an azalea.
Mm-hmm.
And you were telling me there's something showing up on azaleas that you saw yesterday?
For the first time in my life, I've seen azalea gall.
Azalea gall?
Gall. Gall. This is a deformity in the leaf where, you might look at your azaleas and go, what in the world is that?
It wasn't in the picture in the gardening magazine that I so wanted to have an azalea. So what is this?
Well, it is a fungus that's causing this. And, it's an overgrowth. The plant is trying to circumvent this. Or how is this plant dealing with it? And it could grow itself a really thick leaf. I mean, like a gigantic gall growing in the leaf. And can be controlled with fungicides.
So it doesn't look all that good.
No, it doesn't. Especially if you're not used to seeing something like this. We see leaf gall on camellia a lot, where the camellia leaf turns into something looks like shoe leather, or really thick.
Wow.
And you're like, what's going on with that? It looks like a leaf, but it's like 4 times, 5 times as thick.
Fascinating. I had no idea. And this is the plant's defense mechanism against this fungus that's attacking it.
That's right. And yes, we deal with a lot of different lawns. And when you have situations where you've really tightly planted a lot of plants into a small area to get that southern living lawn and garden, when you're doing it, you're just packing it in. You see these picturesque.
Very
gardens.
dense.
Yeah, everything's packed in there. Well, right there, you've set yourself up for some issues. You're going to have less airflow through there. You're not going to have it's not natural, You're creating this environment, and it needs to be maintained. That's the bottom line. And when you could use our help, we'll help you get through, build a beautiful yard like that. But it requires a lot more.
Well, let's talk a little bit specifically about trees and shrubs, that kind of thing right now that you're seeing homeowners that are lucky enough to have some healthier varieties, what should we be looking out for? What are some of the maintenance things we should be doing?
Well, right now, you should be, applying insecticides and fungicides to your trees and shrubs. I mean, they are so susceptible. And right now, we're seeing insect populations just exponentially.
Why is that? Is that?
It's heat. It's all on a logarithmic scale where degree days in heat, you're going to have more and more insects as, you heat up in degree days.
Well, then the birds got to do their job and eat some of these insects, or the bats, or the snakes, or whatever. We've got to bring their inventory up too to combat this, right?
It's all going off the chart right now. So, we're peaking. We're getting to that peak point in degree days. We're moving up. We're getting closer to the equinox of the summer, and you're going to have a lot more insects as things go on.
What are some of in this part of the country right here in Forsyth County and Winston-Salem, what are some of the key insects populations that can be most dangerous to a healthy tree or a healthy shrub?
Bagworms are definitely right now. They are on the move. They're tiny right now. Most of the insects that attack trees and shrubs are in their early developmental stages. We're going to see as we start getting into June, later in June and into July, these things start to mature. But right now, they are crawlers. Scale insects are crawlers right now. You have gloomy scale on all these maple trees. I mean, I go to a Costco shopping center or any other shop, Kohl's, any place like that, where you have parking lots and you look at any tree, you're going to find massive amounts of scale insects.
Is the fact that it's
every tree
that is actually in that environment, is that become a magnet then for those insects? Yes,
it has, and we've set ourselves up for this. Unfortunately, these maple trees and zelkovas, they're smaller trees. They're understory trees in the forest. But we've put them right out there in full sun, right out there on an island.
Okay.
We've planted some turf grass around them. Everything's in compliance. and
here comes...
But what have you done? You have set that poor plant out there, tree. You might look at it and go, oh, that's a big tree. I think I'll park my car under it while I'm over here at Walmart. And, to get this tiny little umbrella of shade. That poor tree, my God, they need help.
Yeah, what it sounds to me is like you've got a tree that's designed by nature to be either backstage or take a kind of a secondary role, and you've thrust it into the spotlight of stardom.
Right, they don't want it to be big because they might have to maintain it when it's really big. They want a small one. Oh, will it grow in full sun? Yeah, it will. Will it grow in a parking lot? Not without somebody's help. Come on. It all needs help.
This is a great example of one of the themes that you talk about, and that is working with nature rather than against nature to get a desired result.
Right. There's a median in between. We all need to find that balance. I think a zelkova is a great tree. That replaced the elm. Every town in America has an elm street, and they used to be lined with elm trees. Well, unfortunately, from overplanting elms over the years, we did develop the Dutch elm disease. Was just a nice pathogen. It probably could have been on any other tree. Unfortunately, it took out most of the elm trees in the whole country.
And that's something. Yeah, we don't see, that's a point in history that be a long time before that ever returns, if ever. We're going to take a short break, come back with our final segment. It's the Love Your Lawn Hour. Our guest is Tommy Cowett with Growing Green. GrowinGreen.com is the website.
Call now. The number is 896-1980, AM 980, The Eagle.
Good morning. We are having a fascinating discussion with the Love Your Lawn Hour and Tommy Cowett of Growing Green.
Good morning.
Our guest. Good morning. And we talk about the lawn and, the pre-emergent applications you put on. But we also been talking in pretty good depth here about the insect issues for our trees and shrubs, especially right now. And you touched on something that I think a lot of folks, maybe unless you think about it, you just, it's just not part of your normal day. Greensboro, in particular, used to be known for its many, many beautiful elm trees, and they're just not there anymore.
No, they're not. Now, it's kind of funny. I have a big, huge, beautiful elm in my yard.
Well, good for you. That's a rarity.
Yes, Chuck, he has a big, beautiful elm in his yard. And John, Turf Commander Rigsby, has a big, beautiful, well, his elm was damaged by imprellis back, but he has a
it's still there.
Big, beautiful elm in his backyard. And I think these trees probably, I don't know, why do we have these big, beautiful elms? Maybe they called us.
The forces in the universe said, listen.
The forces in the universe said, I want someone to take care of me.
Right.
I'm going to attract a guy who will keep an eye. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't look up at my elm tree every day. And it shades the house. It protects me. It, And
that's one of the things that maybe is overlooked, too, is what you've just described. And it may be a similar tree or a different tree for your house or a configuration. But you literally have a lot, in this case with the elm tree that you're talking about, it's not duplicatable. You're not going to be able to grow or put a 40-year-old elm, or however old the tree is, 65 years old, whatever.
Old one.
How you
can't replace
these are not
this.
Replaceable.
No.
And I think when we start looking at our lawns and our lots that way, that we do have some literally non-replaceable things on there. Maybe it changes how we take care of it, Don.
Man, it absolutely does. And, I was on a lawn yesterday, same place where I saw the azalea gall. Now, this is in Irving Park in Greensboro. And these are tight, packed backyards. Beautiful. If you want to see a great video we have on natural stump removal is in this same backyard.
Is that on your website, the video you're talking about?
Yes, should be there.
Okay, so if you go to growinggreen.com and you go to the video section.
Yep, and it talks about the various insects you're going to find in a landscape, from scale insects, soft scale, to you name it, aphids. This place, it's a tight, shaded backyard, very little air movement. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful landscape. Lots of work's been going on here for years. These folks have really taken the time. And what a sanctuary to go back there and just relax, man. I'm telling you, it is just breathtakingly beautiful. But under the surface, there are problems. There are all kinds of insects. There are all kinds of diseases popping up.
It's a Disney World for insects and disease in that way, isn't it?
Right. I mean, you've packed everything in there. Oh, my God. And, just a beautiful place. I mean, you almost want to pay money to go back.
But you've upped the ante in order to keep it this way. You're going to have to do some special maintenance issues, and
absolutely, this didn't happen overnight, and you've got to take care of it. It's going to have its issues. So when the folks call me, I'm there to help. And they're wanting my input. Like yesterday, we found the azalea gall. That's a new one, and the sooty mold that builds up on the leaves. And this is a result of towering trees above the property, large oaks, from willow oaks to white oaks, red oaks. They're all raining down a little bit of sap.
Oh, and that's where that comes from.
Yeah, the soot can build up on the leaves, and, these things need to be cleaned.
So, I mean, is it just a matter of getting out there with a garden hose and washing them down?
Absolutely.
Is that what you would do in that case?
That helps so much if you can do that, just to hose them down periodically, and over time you might be able to remove it. If it's a buildup over time. I mean, this could have taken 10 years to get that much buildup on a plant, but,
But it's essentially just like a dust that is raining down on the plants at that point?
I mean, you've seen it. You park your car under a tree and see what kind of sap builds up on that car finish, over time. It doesn't take long, and you're going to end up with a sooty car. So
you end up
the same thing. It builds up on plants.
You park a white car and you drive out a gray car.
Sure.
Or, I mean, I know exactly what you mean, but I never knew that that's was the source of it, but it does make perfect sense.
Oh, yeah. Plants are exudating all kinds of, sap all the time. I mean, it's raining down.
Back to your discussion on being in this backyard that is so well kept. It's been worked on for many, many years. I saw a interesting story, and it said essentially that just a short, brief window of exposure to nature, to a natural setting, is a very powerful thing for the human being.
Oh, it is.
And it's no surprise to you, and you probably didn't need to have this affirmation.
No,
but
I think I sensed it early on in my career, and I realized this is what I wanted to do with my life, was to be in this business.
Right.
And be in these beautiful gardens every day.
But if you're working in an office or, retired and what have you, but if you force yourself to just get outside and just observe, literally observing nature, not even necessarily digging something up, but just immersing yourself in the surrounding like you were describing, it has health benefits, they say.
I believe a park bench can probably heal you better than an aspirin sometimes. I mean, just have a seat and just relax and enjoy what Mother Nature has to offer. And it's probably the best pharmaceutical,
Somebody may be thinking, I've listened to the discussion this hour. I've got a lovely tree that I'm concerned about. I know if this tree goes away, it's never coming back, and there's no way to put one in there that's as large, or I don't have time to grow another one for 70 years or whatever. It's a great window to say, let's do something to save this tree, even if it has been damaged. I've been intrigued. You've been to my house before. You told me I had some damaged trees, but they were in the process of healing themselves. But you also have some tools of the trade that can help, right?
We do. We are Arbor Jet certified, and actually, Chuck and I went out with Albert Cooper with Cheryl Tree this week and did a really interesting tree injection. Well, we were looking at a maple that was in distress and gave it a nice injection. And that is done actually by drilling a hole into the tree, inserting some injection tools, and actually injecting that tree with good stuff that could help turn around. And
so it's a almost like a intravenous feeding for the tree.
Absolutely.
In a human term.
That's what it's called. Oh, yeah. It's infusion, micro infusion. I mean, we're actually, it's IV, baby, right into the tree.
And it really does, the tree kind of says, hey, this is what I've been waiting for. What took you so long?
And some of these treatments can last up for 3 years. One time
you see 3 years.
3 years control for various insects, disease. You can give the tree micronutrients intravenously through infusion, injection, micro-injection is what we do.
Wow.
It's a little pricey per tree, but hey, if you have a tree, you want to save that tree, it's very much worth it to do it.
Well, I'm thinking sometimes,
can't replace it.
Family homestead, you've got pictures of, you when you were a child at this tree, and it was a good-sized tree then, and then maybe that became the picture place for the next generation and the next generation, and somehow that tree is it's more than just a plant. I mean, this is a reminder of where you came from.
Man, it's an estate tree. It's with the family. It's part of the neighborhood. It's part of the city. You got century oaks out there. You want to keep them around for more than a century. I mean, a tree can live a long time. And we can keep them alive, And now with this new technology, this Arbor Jet is very good technology. It's the best I've ever seen. We've been doing injections for a long time, but it's really gotten a lot better.
And the other side of this is, you talked about it's not an inexpensive treatment, but if you have a large tree, the cost of that tree removal is a significant expense as well. That may be the only other option. We're out of time, but always good to see Tommy Cowett at GrowinGreen. The phone number, 1-866-LAWN-HELP. You're welcome, Tommy. Good to see you. And the lawn experts, you can find them at growinggreen.com. Go there and enjoy the ride.